Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have an amazing lady. Her name is Miss Angela Legh, and she has been on my summit, correct?
I
And
have.
it's been amazing, and I've had an opportunity to talk to her a couple of times and love her message and how she shows up in the world. I wanted to bring her on and have her tell you a little bit about herself, her passion, and how he ended up doing what she does, and then we'll discuss some more things after that. So welcome to the show, Angela. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us and our audience members today.
Thank you, Dr. L. I so appreciate you, what you do in the world, and just the messages you give. I believe we're both about empowering children and parents, and that's just a wonderful thing. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
um, a little bit about me is that um, not everybody has a great childhood. And I'm one of the people who, it was interesting because I had a mom, and every memory of my mom is beautiful, just love and giving and encouragement.
Right.
Every memory of my dad, most of them are repressed. And the ones that I do have are yelling and abuse and um, just mean.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've come to realize through my life path is that he turned to alcohol. He was an alcoholic. And in fact, he ended up dying on Skid Row. Um, so he really went down a terrible path
Right.
after we left him. Um, he turned to alcohol to escape feelings of inadequacy. So his parents told him that he wasn't good enough. And he really embraced those feelings and carried them with him throughout his life. But he also tried to escape those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I do now is I teach people to face all of their feelings, because when we try to escape them, they stick with us and cause a lot of havoc in our lives. And the methods that we choose to escape our feelings can be very um, painful for others, not only ourselves.
Right. And having these ways of trying to deal with the feelings is important too. I think more and more, especially in a world where we are disconnected, it seems like people end up not practicing, and as a result not getting proficient as they're growing up in dealing with their feelings, because they're by themselves and they don't have soundboards and supportive groups and friends and that they can face to face communicate with, right?
Very true. And social isolation is one of those things. Loneliness is a feeling that can be really overwhelming. And, there are fear, sadness, depression, all the grief is one of those huge feelings that we tend to try and avoid.
So,
Or,
Angela, in your journey, uh, having your history and your past and knowing this fact about yourself, about what you did as far as your feelings towards your dad, towards your mom, um, what was a turning point for you? What made you
mm,
um, kind of, or was there like a moment, like an aha moment in that sense?
um, the aha moment unfolded over several years, but there was a turning point because in what happened after my childhood is I married a man And he was also injured from his childhood.
Right.
And what I learned to do was reject anger, because my dad was angry and I wasn't going to be like him.
Mhm.
He learned to embrace anger. And so we had this very toxic relationship where I rejected the anger he had. He felt it was rejection of him.
Mm.
And that just made him angry. So
Right.
it was very much a toxic relationship. And I stayed in it for 32 years because I am an empath, and that means I feel the feelings of others. I could not hurt him enough. I could not leave because that would hurt him.
Mm.
And so I chose his feelings over mine.
So you would choose anger in this particular
Uh,
scenario, or
no, I chose his needs,
ah,
his needs of needing me in the relationship
got it,
was more important than my needs of being away from anger.
got it.
And so I probably would still be in that relationship today, playing out those toxic roles if a fire didn't happen. And so what happened is in 2017, there was a terrible wildfire in Northern California. It killed 25 people in one night
Mm.
and destroyed 5,000 homes. And one of the houses was ours.
Mm.
And that, if you can imagine, it's like the rug of your life is pulled out from under your feet.
Right,
And overnight, you're homeless and you have nothing, nothing.
right.
And you have to figure out, how am I going to go to work? And I remember going to Walmart. It was the only store open. And then at 6 a.m. the very next morning, pushing a cart like a zombie in shock, and seeing all these other people with the same cart I had: underwear, toothpaste, deodorant, hairbrush,
Right,
everything you need to start the day.
right.
And it was shocking to
Wow.
see hundreds of people in the store having the same look on their face, buying the same things.
Right.
We all were in the same
It's like a
position.
post-apocalypse type of a scenario.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a small apocalypse. It was only our community, but it certainly
Still.
impacted all of us.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So naturally, there's these feelings, and you eventually developed a system for dealing with this, basically. So tell us a little bit about uh, what you do, and you know, over time, what you've seen to be the common problems that people often struggle with when it comes to feelings, and go from there.
Yeah. So what I believe is the common problem is the avoidance of the feelings that are painful. We all run after and try to embrace the feelings that feel good,
Right.
but most of us try to escape the painful feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings are energy and they're information. So when we have painful feelings, they're telling us a little bit about ourselves.
Right.
When I think about my former husband and when he was screaming at me, that triggered within me a reaction. Frequently, our trigger reactions are based on childhood things or feelings from the past that have not been resolved, that have not had attention paid to them. And so what I teach is, whenever we are triggered, when we have a reaction to the behavior of others, that is on us. That is, we need to take responsibility for our reactivity. But also, that's an opportunity for us to look at our reactivity and examine, am I reacting to what is in front of me, or am I reacting to something from my childhood? Once we examine that, that gives us the opportunity to actually face those feelings from our childhood and allow them to flow. And in doing that, that then de-triggers us a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So every time we examine our triggers and face those feelings, we lessen the amount of reactivity we have. And there is a method I teach of facing feelings. It's interesting because I always give credit to Dr. Donald Epstein, who teaches what he calls AAA, and it's be aware, acknowledge, and accept a feeling. I found a blog post that I wrote long before I met Dr. Donald Epstein, where I called it feel the feeling and name the feeling and allow the feeling. But his AAA is such an elegant, easy way to remember. I now teach it under those words. So when we have a feeling that's painful, we can be aware of it. Oh, I'm feeling sad. Right. I'm feeling angry. We can acknowledge it, which is I am feeling is acknowledging it. Mm-hmm. And then we can allow it. When we can be in a space of neutrality and allow a feeling to flow, the feeling will dissipate. It is only when we engage a feeling, either through holding on to it or rejecting it, that the feeling, energy of the feeling stops and gets stuck. Mm-hmm. So the key would be in neutrality, accepting. It's okay for me to have this feeling. Done.
Got it. Now, that sounds simple.
And it's hard.
And I'm sure that as clients come to you, we all over the years develop habits and patterns and things like that. Mm-hmm. That's neurologically, you know, when we say you're triggered, you know, that is becomes your default go-to, right? Like you're talking about the gentleman in your life, and you talked about how he chose anger or embraced anger. That was his go-to thing. Like yes. That was the first and the fastest thing that he could go to, right? So so how do you overcome that kind of a challenge, these habits basically? So
well, yeah, and the habits come to us because we learned a way of reacting. So for him, it was anger.
Right.
They come to us because of things people told us when we were young. And with a feeling, it's energy, and only energy will allow it to dissipate. So when we face the feeling in neutrality, then we're not adding energy to it, and it can flow. Right. However, many people fear facing the feeling. And that is when having someone who can hold them in a space of love while they are facing that feeling, and it helps them be empowered to do that.
Right.
In terms of the perspectives, so the perspective of an adult who told us when we were 5 that we would never be able to fill in the blank.
Right.
What I teach people is that we don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. And we have filters that were handed to us by parents, teachers, ministers, the adults in our life, who, when we can step back and realize they saw the world through the filters they were handed.
Right. And this is powerful. So I just want to repeat this again, that we don't see the world as it is, but we see the world as we are.
Yes.
Yes.
And the beauty is we get to choose how we are.
Exactly.
We don't have to choose the filter handed to us by our parent.
Right. Or by anybody else in your life.
Or anyone else.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's shifting a perspective is also easy and hard. So that is where having someone who can really explain the energy behind it and the mechanics of it, that can hold you in a space of love while you're choosing into a perspective. But that person can be yourself. And the way I teach people is to just close your eyes and imagine you are that 5-year-old kid and you picture the person telling you what they told you. But then imagine that you, as an adult, step in. What do you tell the child, you, in your current understanding of the world? Or it can be, what would your best friend step in and tell you as a child? Because we don't always have the best self-talk, but our good friends would come in and lovingly explain to the child what the truth of the situation is as of now. So we can do that exercise to kind of reframe a perspective, a filter,
right,
that doesn't serve us in our adult life.
True. I like that. Awesome. So these are really valuable tips that you're giving out. How can people learn more about what you do and work with you and things like that? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I write children's fairy tales, and everything I've talked about today is part of the conversation that the characters have in the fairy tales. So it, through osmosis, teaches children these things. So one of the way you can learn more about what I do is buy the books. They're available on Amazon. I also have a course for adults that parents can learn about through my website. The course is called Live, Love, Laugh. And it's a week is on emotions and managing your emotions. A week is on perspective and managing your perspective. And then a week on curiosity and playfulness, self-trust and self-love. And by building through all those areas, you can start creating a wonderful life for yourself. And then for people who really need someone to take them by the hand, I have mentoring slots available for up to 10 people. So I'm really limited on my time and availability. But when someone truly wants to have that kind of one-on-one, then I can provide that.
Angela, I had a question since you brought up the book. What is, in your opinion, the most important thing when it comes to children and emotions, and that parents should look for and address?
The most important thing is we as parents weren't instructed on how to feel feelings. And we don't know how to tell our kids. So what happens inadvertently, and I know I did this as a parent, don't cry,
Hmm.
don't cry, baby. um, what that message is don't feel the feeling you're feeling. And we want to be really cognizant that we allow our children to have the feelings they're feeling. And so a better message would be, hey, I know you're feeling sad, and it's okay to feel that way. Because the reality is, science has proven that a feeling, the biochemistry of a feeling, lasts 90 seconds.
Hmm.
Anything longer than 90 seconds, it means our brain has engaged in the feeling.
Right.
And when we can be neutral, the feeling will just leave in 90 seconds.
Right.
So the key would be teaching children not to engage in a feeling, but to simply experience it.
Got it. That's a really powerful tool. So I really, really appreciate you actually mentioning that. Awesome. Cool. So audience members, please take Angela up on the offer. Check her out, their website, and the book is in the description box. Make sure you go ahead and take a look at that. And if you haven't already done so, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can get the latest on the experts that we interview on the show. Angela, I really appreciate you being here and taking time out of your busy schedule. Your message is powerful. I'm really glad to have had this opportunity to share your message with our audience members. Any final words before we part?
Mm. What I want parents to know is to give themselves grace. Nobody teaches us how to raise kids, and you're doing your best. And I could make a long laundry list of the mistakes I made as a parent, and here I am teaching parents how to teach their kids about emotions. So it's all a learning journey. Breathe, give yourself grace, and know that your love is the most important thing. Your love and your attention is the most important thing you can give your child.
Yeah, I love that. That's powerful again. Yeah, I mean, the kids need to see that we are not perfect and we make mistakes, and they also need to learn how we deal with our mistakes and the challenges that we have so that they can kind of create a system for themselves based on our model. So
Yeah.
so the more we can model constructive and sustainable ways of dealing with our challenges, the better the kids will be for it as well if they can see that. And we discuss that and bring it out and discuss it with them. So thank you for actually mentioning that. I appreciate it.
Mm.
Awesome. I look forward to having you on more series and more things and more courses and our programs as well. So I look forward to that. Thank you for being here. And until next time, see you guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.